Okay, you guys, so tonight we have Jessie Warren. I'm super excited for tonight's guest speaker. She is going to be talking to you guys about all the things, and she cannot wait to share her story. FSU and now pro player with the USSSA Pride, currently giving lessons, all the things. She is excited to share her mental tips with you guys, her experiences playing college and pro, and her faith and everything in between, the good stuff, the bad stuff. And I know you guys are going to ask really good questions. So without further ado, Jessie, welcome.
Hi guys. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm just going to jump right in and introduce myself, who I am, kind of give you guys a little backstory where I come from, what kind of family I come from, and how I kind of got just to where I am today. So my name is Jessica, but everyone calls me Jessie. That's what everybody knows me by in the softball community. I started playing baseball when I was 8 years old. Sorry, 3 years old. Started softball when I was 8 years old. But I played both softball and baseball up until I was 14. And then at the age of 14, I kind of just transitioned over to softball. I got into baseball because my brothers, I have two brothers and a sister, and my brothers played. So I just kind of wanted to be like them growing up and just join them playing baseball. And then I switched over from the pony baseball league I was playing in to a little league that was closer to home. And the coach that I had growing up throughout my softball career saw me playing baseball and asked me to come try out for his softball team. I did, and then it's history from there. That's how kind of my softball career started. But yeah, so ended up, I obviously went to Florida State, signed at Florida State. My childhood was not the best, so it was really hard on mom for me to be seen at camps and clinics. I come from a very poor family, so it was very hard for her to afford travel ball, for her to afford camps and clinics, for her to afford a lot of things that a lot of girls had. So I know what hard work is, and I know how hardworking my mom worked for me to get to where I am today, and I'm super thankful for her. But ended up, God had plans for me to go to Florida State. I ended up at Florida State after going to a camp that I fundraised for, which was crazy. I sat outside of Publix asking people to, donate so that I could get to this camp. Ended up going to camp, and Coach Alameda, Coach Travis, and Coach Snyder at the time, he's now at Texas A&M, but they absolutely loved what they saw in me as a person, and my talent, and in my mom. Dad was not really always there, so Dad's not really going to be in the picture a lot, but getting back in the picture now with my father. But ended up obviously signing Florida State, went to Florida State for 4 years, had an amazing 4 years, an amazing career at Florida State. I won a national championship in 2018. And I couldn't have asked for a better 4 years under Coacha. We call her Coacha, Coach Alameda. She's the most kind-hearted human being in the world and has taught me so many lessons. And the great thing about her is she just absolutely works with you as a human and as a person so that you're prepared for life. And then obviously got into the real world, got drafted in 2018 to play for the USSSA Pride. And I won a Golden Glove in 2019 with them, won two Krause Cups championships with them as well. And then we pulled out of the MPF, and we are now about to debut our first season in the WPF, which is a new women's professional fast pitch league coming up this summer for the first time ever. So super excited to play in that, because that gives you girls the opportunity now to work hard so that you can get to play in the WPF, kind of where I am right now. So that's kind of a little background on me. I also did forget to mention that in college, I went through a lot of mental training with Brian Kane. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but went through a lot of mental training with Brian Kane, and he helped me tremendously, especially from all of my trauma that I had in my childhood. I was diagnosed with GAD, which is general anxiety disorder, and a panic disorder. So the fact that I had him in my hip pocket to help me through my 4 years was absolutely tremendous. So, but yeah.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Jessie, already. I want you guys really quickly, now that we kind of have more people in, give Jessie some whoop whoops in the chat, some whoop whoops on the screen. That's kind of how we recognize if something resonated with you guys. We always do like me too, like that part of your story resonated with me. If there's a question tonight, make sure that she sees that, because this is really special. So with that, you guys, who has a question? Who wants to lead it off? And as always, if you don't have questions, you know that I will always come up with questions too, which also reminds me, why don't you guys pop it in the chat? We can see your name, but just say hey and where you're from, what state, while we're coming up with our first question. So a lot of these girls have graduated. I'm looking at a lot of graduates. Danica is currently going through the program. And a lot of graduates as well. Noah's a recent graduate of the Fearless Warrior program. And a lot of the stuff we teach is directly from Brian Kane. So
nice.
Yeah.
Actually, use what I learned with him in college for my lessons. I do mental training during my lessons as well with them. So full circle. It's pretty cool.
So let's go with that. What was something that that you learned on the mental side that was kind of like in games? Like, what was your go-to in-game routine?
So I really took away from him in my 4 years, I don't know if you guys are familiar with red lights, yellow lights, and green lights, but he taught us how to recognize our red lights, which is when we're super frustrated in a moment in a game, our yellow lights, which means we're kind of getting to a red light, but we're a little bit more on the green light side, but and then a green light, meaning you're ready to go, you're ready to step in that box and get after what you're doing. So I developed a routine with those three. What I would do is if I got in the box and something was just not going my way, I would step out, I would move the dirt with my feet, which was my clearance that I was now in a yellow light from a red. And then I would look into left field fence, and nobody knew I had it out there, but my first day on campus, I went to left field and drew a little dot into the left field foul pole, which was my refocal point. So that when I was in that yellow light, I could, look over to the left field fence. Everyone thought I was looking at Kocha, but I'm looking right past her, and just refocusing myself and just trying to get back into a good place mentally before I step back in the box, so that I'm not letting, past pitches or, past situations that maybe I'm upset about, a bad call by an umpire that I can't control, that's out of my control, so that I can go onto my next pitch and be in that green light, ready to go, ready to, get after it.
Very cool. How many of you guys have a focal point or a reset mechanism with something specific on the field? Ryan's given the head nod. Taylor's given a hand. Very cool. Okay, what questions do you guys have? Who's got one? Any question about college or day-to-day, what it's like to play in the College World Series? Was it nerve-wracking? Were you nervous?
Yeah, it was. Well, I'd been there in 2016. So in 2016, it was the nerves were just crazy. Just so many people, and how the game has grown and how the World Series has just grown altogether year by year. So by the time I got back in 18, it was even bigger than it was in 16. So the nerves were still there, but it wasn't foreign because I'd been there before, and I'd played in 6-7 games on that field. So when I did go in 18, it wasn't about the trophy for none of us, which is crazy that it wasn't, and then we ended up winning it. But for us, it was all about just, enjoying each other's presence and looking to the left and right of us and just really, really trying to, play the game that we fell in love with at the age of 8, and just taking our environment. The one thing that really stuck out to us was just all the little girls that were standing in the stands, watching us, and, just being grateful for where we were and the turf that we were standing on. So it was full circle from 16 to 18 when Megan King went and gave up a grand slam in her first appearance, and then we get back in 18 and she's literally throwing a 0.1. She has a 0.1 ERA. So it was awesome, and I really, really enjoyed it. And by game 2, the nerves were completely gone, and I was just having a ball in the time of my life.
Is that widely known that you guys, weren't dealing with the pressure of going and getting a national championship? I mean,
I mean, most teams, we have a common goal. That was our common goal, was to win a natty, but I don't think many people knew that we didn't care if we won it or not while we were there. And it was funny because we always joked about how, oh my gosh, we're winning this game right now. Like we haven't been behind yet, but we're the comeback kids. Like they need to score a couple runs. They need to be beating us so that we can come back and win. So, we had little jokes like that. And after we lost to UCLA, we were like, so what? Like, we've been here before. We lost to Georgia our first game here in 2016. We made it to the semis and ended up losing to Auburn in the semis. But we've been here, we've done it. So let's just, lace up our cleats and go out there and just enjoy each other, enjoy the environment, have fun, and see what happens. And look what happened. So
Chills.
yeah.
Chills. What an amazing story. Okay, so
Yeah.
Keelani has a question for you. She says, do you consider yourself a leader, and what qualities are important for that?
I do consider myself a leader in many different ways than most leaders that you guys are probably familiar with. So you look at leaders and you probably think like very vocal, not necessarily telling your teammates what to do, but leading them in a way where they come to you for necessities and team information, almost like a manager type thing. The way I lead is by example. So, I'm the first one in the dugout, ready to go, stretching. When I'm on the field, I'm very vocal with my teammates, but at the same time, I'm just very good teammate to my friends. And that's one thing, if you guys can take away from tonight, is just be a very good teammate and get to know and connect with your teammates on a different level than just playing the game of softball. Like, take the time to actually get to know them, because the chemistry that you build with your teammates when you get to know them outside of softball makes playing the game so much more easier when you have them by your side on the field, because then they know what they can bring out of you. So my teammates know exactly how they can speak to me without me getting really really upset, or without me not wanting them to come to me at all. So that took time though, because they got to know me outside of the game, so they know what my ticks are, they know what makes me mad, they know what they can say. But I think just being a good teammate is one of the most important qualities. Checking up on your teammates day by day, regardless if it's about softball or not, just shows you that you're a good teammate as far as being there for your friends and for your teammates. And but last person to be in the dugout picking up trash, making sure my teammates are doing the right things, making sure I'm doing the right things. And I think the most important thing is just being able to hold your teammates accountable, and vice versa. So, if one of my teammates are doing something correctly, not necessarily physically or mentally, but just knowing that they may be a minute late, like, hey, that's not acceptable, let's be better next time. And knowing that my teammate can take that from me and not go and talk to another teammate like, oh my gosh, just said this to me. Like, it's like, okay, yes, you're right, I was a minute late, let me be better, and tomorrow I won't be late. So just being able to hold each other accountable is super important, and not getting fussy about it when someone calls you out, because they just know that you can be better than what you were showing. And a lot of people can see that in each other and their teammates when you can't see it in yourself. So it's just holding each other accountable and being able to take that accountability from your other people.
Such an awesome response. I don't think that's a typical response. I mean, we hear the things about the dugout, but that response of just being a good human and being a good friend. And obviously it's worked for you, right? Look at the success that you found.
And I think in today's world, like with mental health just not being a priority for athletes, I think it's just super important that those things are happening, and those checkups are happening day by day. And I think just being comfortable with talking is super super important. Just being comfortable with opening up to people, and telling them when you're not okay, because it's okay not to be okay, but just having that trust in your teammates to be able to do that is super super important.
Love that. Okay, Danica says, did any teammate or coach ever put you down? And if they did, how did you react?
Um, I did have one teammate as I was growing up, just kind of the odd one out that I wouldn't necessarily say bully me, but she saw that I was getting places and she kind of recognized that she wasn't. So she would say things and make remarks that would try to bring me down, but me being how I was and just not really caring about what people had to say about me, because knowing that all that really matters what I thought about myself and how I acted, and the confidence that I had it within myself was the most important. And one thing that I'm very big on is not like finding my identity through my sport, but finding my identity through Christ. So just knowing that softball's going to end, and regardless if softball ends or not, like I still have God to lean on. And just knowing that what other people think about me doesn't matter, because I was created by the one, and all that matters is what he thinks. So yes, I have had a teammate put me down. I haven't had a coach put me down yet, but hopefully that doesn't happen. But just how did I react? Just let it be. Just let it go. Know, like, be the bigger person, and know that what you think about yourself is all that matters, and the confidence that you have within yourself is all that matter, and nobody can take that away from you. If you have that confidence within yourself, nobody's going to be able to take that away from you. So just be the bigger person, just walk away, don't say anything, keep working hard. You got what you're doing, you're putting in the hard work, so just keep working. And yeah, don't let anyone take away that confidence.
Awesome question, you guys. Love that. Danica and Kehlani, if you guys want to unmute, you are more than welcome to. And anyone can ask a question. You guys don't always have to rely on the chat. What do you guys want to know?
It can be anything. You guys can ask me absolutely anything. Like, what's my favorite color? What's my favorite food? Like, I'm open to answering any questions you guys have. I'm not promising that the tears won't flow. I'm a very sensitive person, so if I start crying, it's normal. Don't get awkward.
Do you have siblings? And if you do, like, did you ever compete with them? Like, if they played a sport too or something like that?
Yeah,
I do that with my brother.
So I have two brothers and a sister. My older sister, she's 10 years older than me. So she was never really athletic. She never did any kind of sports. She's like the reading, very like into education type of personality. And then I have an older brother who's 1 year older than me, and he's the one that played baseball, who got me into baseball. And then my younger brother as well. He's 1 year younger than me, also played baseball. But my younger brother fell out of sports at a young age, so it's just me and my older brother. But he fell out of sports when he was like 14. So we did compete when we were younger, but at that age, we didn't really know what competing was. So we were just out there to have fun. And I think the competing started when he stopped playing, and I started competing with other people, not necessarily my siblings. But I think it's so cool that the competing aspect and then the definition is being like used by younger girls and the younger generation now at such an early age, because it's making our game so much more competitive. Like, girls are understanding what competitiveness is and how to compete at the age of 10, which at the age of 10, if you asked me if I was competing, I would be like, what's that? I'm playing softball. Like, I was just out there to have fun, and I didn't really understand what competing was until I was in high school. So I started competing in high school with the people who were around me, but it wasn't a competitiveness where I was like, I'm gonna beat you and haha, like I beat you. It was more so like, I'm gonna pull the best out of you, you're gonna pull the best out of me, and whoever gets this position is gonna get this position. And if you beat me, I'm just gonna work that much harder to beat you for next week so that I can start. And then hopefully it just goes back and forth. And I think that's what sports all about. And having good teammates is all about that. I was talking earlier about accountability. So, if you have those good teammates and teammates that are going to treat you right, you're going to be able to compete, but you're not going to, feel afraid or have fear to beat somebody and then they be mean to you. But so I competed with my brothers, I guess, when we were younger, but not so much. Sydney, do you have a question? I saw your hand.
What do you think is the most challenging thing as a softball player?
Oh, most challenging thing as a softball player, I think the roller coaster of emotions that you deal with the game. So, 1 week you can be batting 7 for 10, hitting 700, and then the next week, you go over and you think you can't play softball because you can't hit a ball. And you're on the high of about to drop on the roller coaster, and then all of a sudden you go down and you're at the low, and then you're back up at the high and then back at the low. So it's just like being able to manage and navigate those emotions that you deal with every single day. And like I said earlier, at the end of the day, one strikeout, one error, one bad pitch doesn't define you as a softball player. You're not a softball player. You are obviously a softball player, but people aren't going to look at you and think you're just a softball player. When people see me, they see a softball player, but they also see so many other characteristics in me that define me as a human being. So I think just really accepting failure is going to be super important. Just knowing you're going to fail. I promise every single one of you, you're going to strike out about 100 times before your career is over. And I'm probably going to strike out like 100 times before my career is over, because I hope I play until I'm like 40. But with that being said, no, short-term memory is what we call it. Have a short-term memory. Okay. What is a short-term memory? Sydney, what is a short-term memory? Anybody actually? What's short-term memory? Answer. I don't know. Danica.
Like whenever, like if something happens, like if you strike out, you just brush it off and you're like, okay, next time I'll hit it.
Exactly. Okay. Short-term memory is just forgetting about things quickly in a short time. Okay. So with that being said, like have a short-term memory. You strike out, go into the dugout, get a cup of water. That water that you're about to drink is that strikeout. Drink it, crush the cup. It's over. Let's move on. Okay. So having a short-term memory, and then just accepting those failures so that you learn from them, move on, and you be successful later on down the road. Because I promise you, I've had so many more failures than I have successes, but those failures have turned me into the player I am today. Okay, I see another question from Kaylani. I went out to Illinois to see Athletes Unlimited and saw you play. How did you like that experience, and how did it compare to your college experience? Okay, college experience, there won't be nothing to compare to college. College softball is just completely different. Like, it is the emotions you go through, just the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. You're going through it with all your teammates, and you spend 4 years with those girls, getting to know them, and then you get into the real world and you're just crushed by, all this new stuff that you have to get used to, which takes a little while to get used to, and it's scary, but obviously you're an adult and you figure it out. Athletes Unlimited was a great experience. There were 56 athletes in the portal. We call it the portal. And getting to play with so many great athletes and strong-minded women was phenomenal. I went into my first year super scared that people weren't going to accept me, because I'm a little bit, just very outgoing and just put myself out there. And every single one of those girls accepted me for who I was. And it was just so overwhelming to see that these women and how strong their minds were, and how that rubbed off on me and made me such a better human and a better person, just surrounding myself with all those women. The experience was great. We had so many like meetings where we held these things called Friday Night Lights, where on Fridays we'd get together as a big group and just talk about things that were happening in the real world that maybe we were just afraid to talk about and open up about. And the amount of people that would come and the things that were, shared, obviously all confidential, and promised each other not to take it outside of where we were. But, just getting to see that part of you, like that side of your teammates and friends, was just so crazy that you would never think some of those girls went through some of the things that they did. So, and again, vulnerability opens up chemistry, because now I know these girls. Now when I play with them on the field, like, I know how to talk to them. I know what I can say. I know what they've been through to make them a better person and to make them a better teammate, and to make me a better teammate and better person. So, it was the best time of my life. And actually, I wouldn't say best time of my life, because the World Series was pretty good, but it was one of the best times of my life, and I enjoyed it. I played season 2 last summer, but unfortunately I won't be playing season 3 this summer, due to just some contract obligations that I had prior. So hopefully season 4 I'll get in there again, but we'll see. And then, am I saying Noah? Is it Noah? Noah, okay. What did you major in at FSU, and was it hard to keep up with your studies as well as softball. So I was a social science major. I had to think about that because I was like 4 different majors. So I ended up with my social science, bachelor's of science degree. I started as undecided, and then I went into sport management because I wanted to be a coach, but then realized I didn't want to be a coach. So then I went out of sports management and got into criminal justice, and then realized with all the trauma that I've been through in my childhood, I couldn't sit through some of the things that they talked about during classes. So I pulled out of that and went into social science, and then ended up just doing social science and getting my degree in that. And then, yes, it was hard for me, especially to keep up with. I call it a triangle. So the top of the triangle is school, supposed to be for athletes, and then you have your social life and your athlete life on the bottom of the triangle. It's really hard to maintain all 3 at the same time. So if you want to be very successful in the field, you have to pick school softball or school social like your social life, or your social life and school with trying to manage softball. It's really hard to do all 3. Some people can manage to do all 3. I couldn't because I have a lot of learning disabilities. So I had to choose softball and school. I went into Florida State and chose softball and social life to start off with. Like, we're going to be very honest. And I really just went downhill. Like, school just was not happening for me. And I was very close to being ineligible to play. So I had to switch my priorities, and those priorities switched to being education and softball because I realized that I had to have extra focus in my education part of my life, and the social life would just come at another time, which it did. And I obviously during my senior year, I made time for those, social life that I wanted, making friends and, hanging out with friends and stuff. But yes, it was super hard, but you have so many resources and so many things available that you just reach out to people and they'll help you, tutors, academic advisors, your coaches, and they're all there to help and help you succeed through your 4 years of college. So yes, it was hard. Can you explain more about your recruiting experience throughout your recruiting process? Ryan, good question. My recruiting process was so different than everyone's, and everyone says that, but mine was very, very different. So freshman year, I was 14. I decided, I didn't even know I wanted to play college softball. My first ever softball game I had ever watched was when FSU got demolished by Michigan, 17-2 in Super Regionals in 2014. It's my first ever softball game I had ever watched on TV. Like, I wasn't the type to go watch softball. I'd been to like a softball game when Michigan was playing USF because Michigan was my second school, but that was after I committed to FSU. They were still very interested in me. But my coach, his 2 sons played baseball at Florida State. Sherman Johnson Jr. and Brandon Johnson played baseball at Florida State. So I'd always go up with him to watch them play. So I was always on campus. And I walked over to softball with him one day and he introduced me to Coach Alameda, and they were like, come on out to a camp. Let us see like what you have, and then we can go from there. And I fundraised for that camp, like I told you guys earlier. Ended up staying overnight it was an overnight camp. Stayed overnight, competed like crazy. And I stood out tremendously, not because of my talent, but because I was the only one that was just in again, I come from a very poor family. So I was just in a plain t-shirt with some ripped, softball pants from my travel ball team, like just holes everywhere, no socks, cleats. And all these girls are in their full uniforms looking very, very professional. And I'm just there just balling out. And I caught their eye by the way I dressed, and then just obviously the talent that I had. And the next week or 2, they were still in contacted my coach. And then obviously rules were different back when I was being recruited. I know there's a lot of different rules now. I don't even know them, to be honest. But I called Coach Snyder, called my high school coach, which then put me on the phone. I ran away from the phone. I didn't want to talk to him. I was so scared. And then Coach Alameda called and I answered, and she was like, "Hey, like, ready to be a Knoll? Like, we want you to be a Knoll. Are you ready?" And I was like, literally, this is what I said, yeah. And then my coach turned around and was like, "Are you not excited? Do you not want to go there?" And I was like, "No, I'm excited. I'm just like nervous." I'm like very socially awkward when I was younger. But then, yeah, committed to Florida State. My first and only offer that I had talked to Bonnie and Hutch from Michigan a few times, but I told him right off the bat I was a Florida girl and I was not going into the cold. So, but yeah, my recruiting story very simple. I stayed very local in travel ball tournaments. I never played in any of those big tournaments. Stayed NSA, ISA, ASA tournaments, if you guys are familiar with those. But never played in like those Colorado show, like fireworks, any of those big ones. I played in one when I switched teams to play on the Wichita Mustangs, but I was on that team for like 2 weeks and then I came back home because I was homesick. But yeah, that's my recruiting process story. I'm sure every single one of you guys' story is going to be completely different than that one. All right, I'm going to catch my breath real quick because I'm like, I can't breathe.
This is awesome. So we are actually already over on time and we want to be respectful of your time. So it looks like Danica has one final question. Did you play any other sports? And then I have one closing question for you. And then our tradition is we always grab a screenshot. So you have to teach us, you know, what does FSU do? You'll tell us in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So did I ever play any other sports? I did. I played every other sport you can think of. Like, I'm not even joking when I say that. I started in baseball, obviously switched to softball. While I was playing softball, I was doing travel soccer. I played volleyball. I then was throwing shot put for track and field. I played a year of tennis. And then when I got to high school, I was doing basketball in the fall. And then I would travel with, I couldn't do soccer during basketball because soccer and basketball at the same time. I would do travel soccer while I was playing basketball. And then in the spring, I would throw shot put and play softball. But then track was getting in the way of softball because it's the same season. I wanted to do flag football. I did it for like 2 weeks. But again, all three of those were at the same season. So I ended up just sticking with softball in the spring, doing travel soccer, and then playing basketball. I actually had some offers to play basketball in college, but obviously softball was my route and I felt like I had more opportunity and connections through that sport, so I ended up sticking. But yeah.
See, they fired up so many awesome questions at you tonight. It's awesome, you guys.
Awesome.
Okay, so final question. If you could go back in time, become a time traveler, and give your younger self any piece of advice, what would you tell your younger self?
There's so many things. I think one, like everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be okay. And then two, the like one thing I wish I would had known in high school was just to accept my failures earlier in life, as far as like on the athletic side. Just I could have been so much better than what I was in high school had I not went into the dugout and cried after a strikeout. Like, if I had learned from that at bat and made the adjustments into at bat too. I specifically remembered like we were playing this high school named Sickles High School. And we were rivals and we were winning, but they had runners on first. Oh no, we were up to bat. I was on third and we had a runner on first. And my coach specifically told me, "Hey, she hits a ground ball to third, don't run. Like, she's going to throw it and then you take off." She hit the ball to third and I just darted home. I got thrown out. And actually they were winning. We ended up not tying the game because it was 5-4. I go into the dugout. I'm like throwing my helmet. I'm crying. This was my sophomore year of high school, crying. I get back I was a shortstop in high school, get back on the field, and absolutely, I'm just going to take ownership. I blew the game for the team. Like, balls were being hit to me, and I was still so mad at a play that happened in the second inning. I threw the whole entire game away for our team, and we ended up losing like 14-3 or 14-4 because I was like booting balls. I was like chucking balls at our first baseman because I was just so angry. And had I just learned from that mistake and went out on defense and just played softball, got into my next at bat, hit a double, and then my teammate scored, like game's tied. But little me just decided I wanted to be a crybaby and throw the game for the team. So I think just accepting your failures early, accept like knowing it's going to be fine. Learn from those failures, learn from what you did in an at bat or in the field, and just put it behind you and move forward. And really, really just learn from those things, because it's going to make you, one, a better teammate, and then two, just a better player and person in general. And you can learn from your failures in life too. Just learning what mistakes you've made in real life and moving forward from them and knowing not to make those same mistakes again. So one piece of advice would be that.
Oh, that's so good. So good. Okay. So now can you teach us what's the
okay,
hand
so
gesture
we do so many different things. We have the arrow throw, where we like pick the arrow and then we'll like throw it, or we have like just the chop, but this is like just really awkward. So I don't know what we can do. I mean, that would be fine. Just someone can grab the arrow.
You get to direct us. How do you want us to do our fun screenshot?
Okay, so how about that? I don't know how it looks on the screen for you. Is it, so for me it's Coach AB, it's me, then it's Kaylani, Ryan, Jennifer, Danica. Like, is that the way it is for you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then Coach AB, you're gonna grab the sphere.
So the only thing that's different is you and I are flipped. So I think the speaker is in the first square. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll grab the sphere then. And then you'll go second here. You'll go like right here.
This hand or this hand?
That hand, yeah. So you'll be here. I'll be more down. And then Kaylani, you're gonna be like this. So you'll be like this. But other way. Turn your body the other way. Yeah, there you go. Ryan, you're gonna be here. Other way. There you go. Then we have Jennifer, you're gonna be back. Danica, your hands are gonna be back but opened like this. And then I have Sydney and Noah just doing the chop right here. So then it's gonna look like it's like a, what's it called? You know what I'm talking about? Like going through the
yeah.
whole thing. Okay, so I'm back.
I'm gonna put this down for a second so I can get the screenshot ready. Hold your screenshot pose.
Wait, I have everybody frozen. I don't know what to do.
Okay, Danica, you're here. With your fingers out like this.
I'm in the car.
And then Jennifer, you're doing the same thing, but with your fingers closed like that. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Did we get it? We got it.
Got it.
Oh my gosh, you guys, if you want to unmute, tell Jessie thank you. This has been phenomenal. We love guest speakers. It's just one of the best yet. Thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. See you guys soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.